Hi, Robin with Oxy-Dry, and I'm driving down the highway here, and I just called up my customer to confirm her address and where she was. Wasn't quite sure where that road was, and she forgot I was coming. She said totally slipped her mind. Anyway, whatever. That's okay. It means I got a gap. Called my next one, and nobody answered, so I'm gonna do a little errand here, and then I'll try calling again in a little bit, see if I can get to the last one earlier. But I just wanted to touch base on a couple of things. First of all, I just wanted to I know there's a lot of guys, carpet cleaners, that are watching my channel on a regular basis, and I've been getting some real positive feedback from a lot of you guys. Some of you on the videos, in the comments, and I really appreciate that a great deal. Thank you for that, guys. Some of you have private messaged me, and others have contacted me in other ways, and I just want to say thank you guys for acknowledging that I have been a positive influence upon you guys, particularly those of you who are brand new into carpet cleaning, and maybe you've been thinking about maybe doing a carpet cleaning business and weren't sure how to go about it. And I got quite a few guys that are doing that, and have found my videos helpful. Some other guys have been carpet cleaning, maybe steam cleaning, and for various reasons decided they want to either add low moisture to their process or drop steam cleaning totally, go VLM. And you all know why you did that. Had a lot to do with money, I bet. And anyway, I guess I've been doing these videos for about 7 or 8 years now. It's amazing to think it's been that long. There was a while there where I didn't do very many, and for a long time there I really wondered if anybody was even really watching them much. But anyway, I've got quite a few subscribers, and I guess there's probably quite a few other people that just go and look at them pretty regularly, and maybe they're not subscribers or whatever. I haven't made any effort or really encourage people to subscribe. I just figure if you're interested in what I'm saying and what I'm doing, you're gonna watch them or not. I mean, I have no real goal in this other than my hope, I think, is just to share my experiences, and there are a lot actually, which I'm actually going to go into in a minute, but to show that it's possible with such a simple machine as a rotary or an OP to run a very viable business that can give you a great income, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about or whatever, or because you haven't got yourself a $50,000 or $60,000 truck mount. You could do this with a rotary that you can go and pick up at a pawn shop, and you can start carpet cleaning. You really actually can. And I want to just kind of talk about my history in that. But before I get that, I just want to say once again, thank you guys for the positive feedback that I've been getting, and I'm glad to hear from many of you that I have been helpful to you, because that's the only reason why I want to do this, is to be helpful to others, and I have nothing other than that as a motivation to do this. Somebody once said in one of the forums, and I always thought this was a really very insightful statement. He said, you rarely get the whole truth from someone who has something to sell. And to that end, there are guys out there that have videos that they're posting on a regular basis that actually have something to sell. And you probably know some of them if you're watching different guys. You know that there's some guys out there that are posting videos, but are really kind of trying to direct you toward one specific end, which will benefit them financially. And that's fine, because as long as you understand that, and you buyer beware, I guess is one way to put it. But I don't have anything to sell. I don't sell equipment. I don't sell product of any sort. I sell nothing other than I'm giving away my experience and my insights, whether right or wrong, for whoever wants to watch and hopefully learn something. And there's a little saying that if you give a man a fish, he can eat for a day, but if you teach him to fish, he can eat fish for a lifetime, or something to that effect. You know what I mean. And I guess that's what my motivation really has been for the videos I've been doing. It's just to help others access my literally decades of experience and insights into things. And that's where this video actually is, and what this video is really going to be all about is where do I come from? What was my background? Why am I doing it the way I'm doing it now? Did I do things differently before? What is my experience? So I'm going to tell you my story of how I came to be the owner, operator, creator, developer of Oxy-Dry, the system and the carpet cleaning business. And I'll maybe be able to give you some insights and some information that may be helpful along the way. So we got to go way back. About 1974 or so, my dad was looking through a popular mechanics magazine or something to that effect. I'm not sure which magazine it was. And there was an ad. There used to be ads in the back for various things. And there was an ad in the back of that magazine for a carpet cleaning business, carpet and furniture cleaning business that anybody could get into for relatively little money, and they would help you out by giving you marketing materials and equipment and training, and they sold product and everything. And that company was called Von Schroeder. Von Schroeder has been around for about 75 years or so, and they have a very unique process of a machine that is like a portable machine, but has a brush on the front of it and there's a tank on it for solution, a tank for recovery, and it generates the water goes in, solution goes in, but it generates it into a foam. There's a cylindrical brush on the front and it spins, scrubbing this foam into the carpet, suction right behind it into a recovery tank. And back when they began, the only other option for carpet cleaning was rotary shampoo with a brush with coconut oil based shampoos, which are highly residual. And that's where rotary shampooing got its bad rep in the beginning. Was really the cleaning products were very poor and highly residual. Anyway, so Von Schroeder, when they came along, seemed to be very high tech, and their way of selling was directly from, you would buy directly from Von Schroeder. They didn't have distribution places. They didn't sell through janitorial supply companies or anything like that. You had to go directly to Von Schroeder, and they weren't a franchise. And but they gave you marketing material, and you could phone them up and ask them questions and whatnot. And they also had a really good upholstery cleaning machine, which works on the same principle, which is actually the machine that I use, because there's nothing better than it, although it's terribly expensive. But anyway, so that was, my dad started doing that, and I was pretty young at that age. Strange statement. Of course I was. I was very young, and I remember even 13, 14, 15 years old, however old I was. Um, yeah. um, I have these interesting memories. I remember once doing a restaurant in the middle of the night with him, and oh, it was terrible. I remember doing that. I was hungry. I remember they went to the cooler and I tried to find something to eat. All they had was a bag full of frozen anchovies. I didn't have any. Anyway, um, but so my dad started carpet cleaning way back then in the mid '70s, and so I helped him out a fair amount. Saturdays as I got a little bit older, Saturdays were often with my dad helping him out, and we did thousands upon thousands upon thousands of flyers because that's how we generated business back then. I have walked so many thousands and thousands of flyers I've delivered over the years, even for myself later on. But anyway, that was my first foray into carpet cleaning. And then as I got out of school, I kind of didn't do it much. For a couple of years, I was working for my dad on and off, and then I got another job, and then I came back and worked for him again on and off a few times. And then for a few years, then I got married about 82, and I wasn't carpet cleaning with my dad then anymore. I went and worked at a manufacturing place and then a appliance parts place. And then I realized I wasn't able to make a decent living, getting paid pretty lousy hourly rate. And I began to think maybe I should do something else. And I decided, well, maybe I can become a carpet cleaner. At that time, my dad's business had been kind of petering out. My dad he wasn't really good at marketing and didn't really know how to. It was nowhere near as good as it probably could have been. He was still using the Von Schroeder system, but by the time this is a few years later, I decided I wanted to get into carpet cleaning. I thought I could do that because I'd done it with him enough that I knew that I was able to do that, and I figured, well, he was pretty much not doing it anymore. The business he called at the time Fabric Care had pretty much petered out. He was working as like a caretaker at a camp of some sort, and so he was really doing virtually no carpet cleaning anyway. So I went to him one day and I said, I'm thinking about doing carpet cleaning, and I'm wondering if can I take the equipment you have and can I use it? Because I knew he wasn't using it. And he said, yeah, except there was two problems. One was that the Von Schroeder carpet machine, actually all the Von Schroeder stuff he had, it was done for him. It was he still had a couple of pieces, but I mean they were just wrecked. They were hopeless. But he had a Host T6, I think they call it, CRB machine, and I think he had a little bit of Host powder. And so he said, here's what you want to do. This system, this will work really well. I knew nothing about it. I'd never used it up to that point. But he suggested that rather than the Von Schroeder, that this would be a better choice with the Host system, which is actually like a ground up corn husk powder you sprinkle on the carpet and work in with the CRB machines. And he said that would be a better choice for you. And the other catch was I had to, he would only let me take the equipment and use it if I took my younger brother on board as a partner, because he was not working much at all. He'd been sort of doing painting on the side, house painting, and things weren't going very well, and he was living with my dad, and anyway, so I really didn't have much of a choice, and okay, turned out that um, so we were partners initially, although that ended up being a disaster in the end, but that was okay because a few years later, I ended up with a divorce and left the city and everything. So, but at the time, as far as furniture cleaning, I used my Sears credit card and I bought one of those little plastic Bissell carpet slash upholstery cleaning machines. They look like little wet vacuums. I don't think they held about 4 gallons or something like that. And they had little real crappy little pumps in them, and it worked. And that's how we began. And I remember that way back then, as far as vehicle went, we really didn't have much that was usable, except that at the camp they had this. I think it was like a 1956 Volkswagen window bus. I think it was just a rust heap, and it didn't look that bad, but it didn't look good at all. The thing was just noisy and just a piece of absolute garbage, I tell you. So that was our very first vehicle, and away we went. And we did flyers, and I used to when I worked at the parts store, I had a motorbike back then. I'd leave for work early, hour or so early. I go to a neighborhood and get off my bike and go deliver flyers for an hour, and then go to work and do my thing. And then on the weekends, I tried to make myself available, like Saturdays and Sundays, whatever, to do work. But that interfered with my wife at the time. Was not very supportive and didn't have the vision that hey, this was going to lead to something. And anyway, in the end, it was only a couple of years, I think, within that time that we ended up. Uh, no, it all hit the fan, as it were. So anyway, so that was so by that time now I'd used um, the Von Schroeder dry foam system and the hose system. We were using that. Um, we ran into. We actually did pretty well initially. We started that in 1986 actually, and it took off with a bang. Actually, it did quite well. We ended up with like I think 4 or more vehicles on the road. After a couple of years, actually, what happened is after a couple of years, I think I I stepped out of being a partner and I just worked for my brother and my dad, who then kind of took over my partnership in it, and was just paid a straight um, hourly rate, although I was paid pretty well considering. But in the meantime, the marriage issues were beginning to become more and more of a problem. Um, and then, and that was where we were using the CRB systems, where we began to realize that there were some problems. CRB would, in some cases, cause some tip blooming, and with the powder system, um, we would end up not. It wasn't uncommon to have to go back and vacuum again afterwards because we just weren't getting all the powder out of the carpet. We had um, real problems trying to get that to work. We initially used rainbow vacuums, believe it or not, and then my brother came up with a really good idea. I think we took a built-in vacuum, put it on a dolly, and put a long hose on it, and that's what we used for a while. And that worked pretty well because you go in the house with this great big can. It looked impressive, I guess. But anyway, and then for me, a few years later, things really came to a head with the marriage, and that ended. It really affected me greatly, physically, emotionally, mentally. Just about lost my marbles, I guess you could say. And then I know. Oh, by the way, we also did steam cleaning at the time, so I had quite a bit of um, experience we bought a really expensive portable. I remember that we were offering the dry foam method, the powder system, and we also were starting to do steam cleaning as well. So I was doing that at the same time. But then we the marriage came to an end, and I kind of went through a kind of like a mental breakdown. Um, and I ended up at my parents' place for a few months. I actually at a friend's house. Actually, pardon me, it's a bit fuzzy. What actually occurred was just before my marriage ended, I was hired by a company called Adler and Sons, and they were doing the contract. They had a contract to do the carpet cleaning for Sears, the Bay and Eaton's in-home cleaning, and they used ninjas. And so the guy, I bumped into this guy somewhere, and he hired me. And the pay was way better than what I was getting with my dad and my brother. So now I was steam cleaning, and I was doing a lot of furniture cleaning because that was kind of I'd been doing a lot of that previously with when I worked with my brother and my dad. So now I was steam cleaning with a Ninja portable, and I bought myself a van, and I was going around doing that, and I did that for I don't know, maybe a year, not quite a year, I don't think. But I was pretty busy doing that, and then that was when the marriage ended, and then I had the mental breakdown, as it were. Really got messed up there, and I ended up at my parents' house for a few months trying to sort of get my head back together. And then I decided that I needed to leave the city that I was in, which was Victoria. Um, I just really felt that I had to um, do that. And I found an ad for a carpet cleaner. Somebody was needing a carpet cleaner to run a business in Penticton, which is about 7 hours or 8 hours or so. Actually, 12 hours, I guess. We got to go across on a ferry and then drive for 7 hours um, from Victoria to Penticton, which is up in the Okanagan, which is where I am now. Although not in Penticton, I'm north of there in Kelowna, which is a larger city now. But anyway, that's what happened, and that was 91, I think. So I packed up a suitcase and hopped on a bus, and I was just flat broke. I had nothing. Um, my van, I left with a friend of mine because we had actually started. Okay, I got to go back a bit. When I was working for the company that was doing the Bay and Eaton's, um, I met this other guy there, and long story short, my van ended up with his truck mount in it. So he was using that working for the Bay and Eaton's. So I left my van behind, and he was using it with his slide-in truck mount, an Avenger, I think it was. I moved up to the Okanagan, and I ran a truck mount up here. The guy had a truck mount, a Hydromaster, and so I was up in the Okanagan for a year and a half or so, running this business, which was not a, it wasn't a very viable business. They'd been, I mean, they called it budget, as in Budget, and that was kind of the way things were, particularly in Penticton at the time, where if it was cheap, it was everything was cheap, cheap, cheap. They did a lot of motels because there was a lot of motels in Penticton at that time, more so than now. So anyway, I was there for a year and a half using a truck mount, and it was important that because I had enough compared to the guys that were in Penticton doing carpet cleaning. My experience was much more varied because I used so many different systems, and I had to address so many different challenges in fixing things in Victoria that when I came to Penticton, one store in particular, which was United United Carpet, I think it was, they ended up getting me doing a lot of their work there. If they had a carpet with a problem, they would call on me, and the other guys who were in town were really didn't know what they were doing at all. And so I did get a reputation, I guess. And then I got to go back to Victoria again for a second. Just before I left Victoria, when I was trying to sort of get my head screwed on, as it were, I had decided that I was going to work at getting out of carpet cleaning. I thought, okay, this isn't working for me. Um, at the time, there wasn't any real money in it. It was just a constant headache. I couldn't get it figured out. So I had actually decided I was going to become a care aide. That's what my plan was, because a care aide gets paid pretty good money. And I figured, well, I might as well do something completely out of my comfort zone. And I did my prerequisite. You have to do so many volunteer hours, and then you go and register at the college, because it's a is it a 4 month course or a 6 month course? I can't remember now. And but the wait list was like a couple of years or something like that. So I went and I did my volunteer hours, and I went and registered my name. And I actually forgot about it. Because then it was after that I ended up going to Penticton. I came up to Penticton, and I was thinking, okay, I could take this business and really make it something, but it just wasn't. It wasn't going to fly. Um, there was times when I was paid a percent of the jobs, and there was times when I was making very little money. Fortunately, I didn't really need much money at the time. I was ended up living in a house with a few other guys, and basically it was like a just rented a room. It was like $100 a month or something like that, $200 a month. And there was times when I was making well under $1,000 a month, and it was um, very tight. Went through the first winter there, and then the summer, and was hoping, well, maybe you'll be able to generate more business. I didn't own the business, so a lot of the decisions were made were obviously not my decisions. And anyway, as the next winter was coming up, I realized that there was no way in the world I was going to survive. And so I decided, well, I got to go back to Victoria. I got no choice. Now, interestingly enough, I had actually, because this actually kind of ties in, I had bought myself a car. It cost me $200. It was a 1984 Renault Encore hatchback. Paid $200 for it. Um, and that was a real miracle how that happened. And maybe one day I'll tell that story too. But it was $200. It ran fine and looked good. Um, so anyway, when I decided, I don't remember, it was like maybe November, early December, when I decided I can't stay here in Penticton. I called up my parents and said, um, "Can I come back to Victoria? This isn't, you know, I, I don't know what else I can do. Can I, hang out in your basement again?" Uh, anyway, so they said, "Yeah, that's fine, no problem." They had room for me there, so I packed up a bunch of stuff into my little Renault and zipped down to Victoria. Now this is where the story gets much more interesting, I guess, because I get back to Victoria, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do? I thought, well, maybe I can do the carried thing. Now remember, I completely forgot. I totally forgot that I even registered to on this to do this course. So I went back to the college, and I filled out the application or whatever, and said, I want to register to take the carried course. And the lady's behind the counter there, and she's looking up. She says, "Oh, you're in here already." And I said, "What?" She says, "Yeah, you're on the list here, and the course starts in January." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Oh, I completely forgot about that." And the course was, I think it was like $730 or something like that. That's what pops into my head anyway. So uh, I I was really surprised at that. But then, okay, I could take this course. Except the problem was I had absolutely no money, and I had no job. I had no nothing. So I thought, okay, what can I do? And I thought, well, all I know how to do is carpet clean. So I thought, well, where am I going to go? How am I going to do this? And I thought, okay, the largest janitorial company in town was called um, I forget, but they were big, and they did a lot of the buildings in downtown Victoria. Um, Obviously, a lot of stripping and waxing and all that kind of stuff, but also a lot of carpet cleaning. So I thought, I'll go to them, and I'll see if I can, maybe I can hire myself out to them, because I can do any carpet cleaning. I can use whatever method, doesn't matter. So I go to them. Hmm, trying to remember the name. I went in the door, and there's someone behind the counter there, whatever. And I said, I'm looking for a carpet cleaning job. You guys got any opportunities here? Seems to me I actually had done a little bit of work for them before. I had gone up to Penticton, so that's why I sort of knew them. In fact, I had worked with the guy I'm about to mention now, because anyway, they told me to go see this guy. He owned a business called Super Clean Janitorial, and I think his name might have been Marvin. This is a long time ago, 30 years ago almost. So anyway, so they told me where he was, and or gave me his phone number. I phoned him up, and I said, "Can I come over and talk to you?" And he said, "Oh yeah, sure. I'm sitting here talking to my partner here. Come on over," because we had met before. That's what happened. I think we had met on a job where there was a problem with the carpet, and I'd gone there, and we had resolved the problem together. I can't remember exactly what it was, but anyway. So I go and see this guy. We'll call him Marvin. Hmm. It's funny how you names pop out of your head. But anyway, so I go over to his place, and he's got this little house, just kind of on this kind of country looking place. And I walk in the front door, and he's sitting there with his partner. And hey, sit down, have a cup of coffee. What are you doing? And I told him what I'd been doing up in Penticton, doing carpet cleaning up there and whatnot. And so I said, he says, well, what are you doing now? And I said, well, I said I want to take this course. I said, but I needing to find a kind of a I said, I need to find a way to earn some money, and all I know how to do basically is carpet cleaning. And I said, the janitorial company told me that you guys are, because they had the contract for doing all the carpet cleaning. That's why they sent me over to this guy. They had subcontracted out to him to Super Clean Janitorial. So he says, well, that's interesting. He says, because me and Bill, I can't remember his name either, we were just sitting here trying to decide how we were going to deal with the carpet cleaning jobs that we have, because they didn't like to do carpet cleaning, and they were so busy doing the floor stripping and waxing and all that, and they didn't want to do any of the carpet cleaning. And I walked in the door and I said, I'm a carpet cleaner. Um, can I do your carpet cleaning for you? And so I'm like standing there, and he's saying that, and I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. And by the way, in the midst of all this, um, a lot of praying going on, and just really just asking God to guide and direct me. And so I'm standing there, and he's saying this to me, and I'm thinking, wow, really? This is how this works? So anyway, and he tells me, yeah, this guy has got, we're talking like all the major buildings in Victoria, the big multiple story bank buildings and investment firms, and he had the Crystal Gardens. I think he had the one that's attached to um, the Empress. He had all of the private schools in town, and there's like quite a few of them in Victoria. And we're talking a lot of stuff. So he says to me, and he says, how much do you want me to pay you? And it's funny because I hadn't even thought about that yet. It never even occurred to me to have a number in my head at all. I was thinking, okay, should I tell him dollars per hour, or should I say percent? So I said, how does 40% sound? And he says, sure. And I'm thinking, okay. But I had no idea what I was going to earn. I had no idea how much work he had. But anyway, he said, okay, here's the deal. I give you a key. Here's a key for my van on Fridays or Thursdays, because the course was going to be obviously all weekday. And I told him I was only going to be available from Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, and all the weekdays not available. Well, that's perfect, he says, because that's when we do all of our work is on the weekends and like Friday night and Saturday and Sunday, obviously, because the virtually all the places he did were occupied all the other times. So this worked out perfect. but I had no idea how much I was going to earn. All I knew was that I needed to have $730 within, I think it was like within 2 or 3 weeks. Now, I mean, we're talking like down to the wire. So I said, okay, I'll do it for you. So he hands me the key. He had a van, he had a portable in there, he had some cleaning product in there. Here's the address. You go here, meet this the building manager, and he'll tell you what to do. And that's what I did. And for the next few weeks, actually, because I wasn't yet in school, I was able to work quite a few evenings as well. So there was stuff he had to catch up on that I was able to do right away for him. And I think I may even work some day stuff up until that point as well. But anyway, I still didn't have any idea how much I was going to get paid. So a couple weeks later, and I had like 3 days I think before I had to pay for this course. Um, I go over to see him, and he hands me a check, and it was like, I think it was like $790 or something like that. And I'm like looking at it, thinking, wow, that's interesting. I have more than I need. And then I realized, oh wait a minute, I need money for gas. So I literally had just enough money, and that was how it went for as long as I took the course. Every weekend, I would have work to do. I never knew exactly what it was I was going to do. I actually made pretty good money, just working on those weekends because I could produce a good amount of volume, etc. And he had a couple of good portables. He had a U.S. products one. I can't remember what the other one was. And there was in the schools. I remember I did quite a bit of furniture in there as well. Um, and it really was pretty good. I do remember my back being very, very sore at times because pushing that wand back and forth. But that was where I began to experiment. My first experiments began with using bonnet cleaning because I had this little. I don't remember exactly where I got it from, but I had a little Clark FM 13-inch rotary with a tank on it. Really nice little machine. Paid $200 for it. And there was just, I remember there's a few jobs that I did for him where I was back there every week or two, and they were, and I remember one in particular. It was the Times Colonist building, the entryway and the steps, big wide steps going down to the front door and that. And I remember just, this is so frustrating because the only place I could get water was way on the other side of the building, and I'd have to fill and dump the machine like 3 or 4 times, and it's like so much time it would take. And one day I thought to myself, I wonder if I could do this just with my little machine with a bonnet under it, and wouldn't have to run the portable all the time because it's just a pain in the butt. And I had a couple of loopy pads, the rayon blend ones. That's all I had at the time, and I went and bought myself a gallon of Spin Bright or something, whatever, from one of the janitorial supply companies. I don't know, I can't remember what it was. And so the next time I went back to that particular job, I took my rotary, and so I decided to give it a try, and I was pleasantly surprised at one, how fast it was, two, how well it worked, and three, how easy it was. And I thought, this is definitely easier than dealing with this portable machine all the time. And so I started using it more and more, particularly when, remember, there's a few jobs where we had office buildings where most of the time it was really just taking out a coffee spill here, there, and everywhere. Mostly spotting, not actual really a lot of real big areas where a lot of cleaning was getting done, but mostly spot removal, and it worked really well. And that was where I began to realize the potential of using a bonnet slash rotary type method. But anyway, I did my course. I was like second or third from the top in the class, which really quite surprised me actually because I was really lousy in school. But I guess this was just suitable for me, and I was really motivated to learn. And it was hands-on, practical stuff and everything, and I really enjoyed it. And then I had to quit working for um, my janitorial friend there, because as soon as I got hired on with as a care aide, I did so as a on-call basis. You actually get paid more per hour that way, and like good money. And then of course there's dental and medical, etc. So I had to quit from working for my buddy there. But my goal was always to get back to the Okanagan, so I worked like a mad fiend for a few months and put money aside and everything. And then a few months, I don't know, 6 months or so later, an opportunity opened up to move to Penticton to work for the Penticton Care Unit, they call it. And so I got the job there, no problem. And I moved back to the Okanagan. And and I had no intention of doing any carpet cleaning anymore after this. I figured that this was going to be my future. But I guess once I got back to the Okanagan, when I was in Victoria as a care aide, I could double shift practically every day because I worked for Juan-de-Fuca Hospital Society, which had like 5 or 6 hospitals, and they were always short staffed, and I could double shift almost every day if I wanted to. But I got back to the Okanagan, and it was just one place I was at, and initially I did pretty well, and then the calls got less and less, and I began to realize this could be a problem. And I began to think, well, maybe I need to supplement my income, and if I can do carpet cleaning. But I was thinking about it. But I remember walking down the Okanagan Lake beach one day, and I ran into the guy that was the manager of the United Carpet Store, and he he recognized me, of course, and I haven't seen you for a while. And I told him I'd been back in Victoria, and I moved back a few months back, a few months previous, and I was doing work as a care aide now. And he says to me, he says, well, he says, if you ever want to get back into carpet cleaning, he says, I'll send work your way again, because he trusted what I knew and everything. So I said, oh, okay. I've been thinking about it. So that gave me a real incentive to do it, knowing that I would have work back kind of handed to me. So I began thinking about it, and I began wondering, okay, if I'm going to get back into carpet cleaning, how am I actually going to clean carpet? Am I going to use the Von Strauder system? Am I going to use steam cleaning system? Am I going to have to go get a truck mount or a portable? Would I go back to using the host system, CRB, um, or would I use a rotary? Now, bear in mind, there were no OPs at this time anyway, so that wasn't even an option. And by the way, of course, I've done that since, using OP machines. So anyway, I considered it all, and of course, I still had my little Clark for FM13, and I thought, well, it worked for me in Victoria. I went over to ZEP, Janitorial Supply in Penticton, and talked to them about the cleaning product they had. This was prior to encapsulation systems or products as well too, so the products weren't that great, um, and there wasn't a lot of choice for pads back then. There was no microfiber. The only cotton you could get were the great big thick loopy mop ones, which I never liked, and the one I was using was the rayon blend one, which they were okay. And of course there was the green stripe Rubbermaid ones available, but I'm only using a 13-inch machine at this time. But anyway, so I decided that I would do it using my Clark machine out of the back of my little Renault hatchback, which cost me $200, with my rotary machine, which cost me $200, and I got a little portable um, um, 3-gallon, I think it was, extractor for doing a furniture, which somebody gave to me, I think, but it needed a motor, and I had to put a motor in it or something. Um, but I think I had a spare motor somewhere, and I put that in, and so it cost me next to nothing to start, really. And I pondered long and hard about what am I going to call myself, and I came up with the name Oxy-Dry because when I was in Victoria, I would go to this Olympic pool, public pool, near where my parents were quite a lot, and I realized that they were purifying the water there with something other than chlorine. They were actually doing purifying the water with ozone. And I remember talking to my dad about this, and he says, "Well, if you want to know about ozone," he said, "give oh, what's his name again? Oh boy, he'd been in the carpet cleaning for a long, long time. Oh shoot, um, he's one of the he's gone now. Oh darn it, what was his name? Anyway, he lived in Seattle, and he says he knows all about ozone for carpet cleaning. He was trying to promote the use of ozone um, as a boost or whatever for carpet cleaning. And he was the guy that brought in the Cymex too. I'm trying to think of his name. Oh shoot. Oh. Anyway, so I called up this guy and I talked to him about ozone, and he told me that yes, you could use ozone and mix it into the water using aeration and whatever, and it would be a sanitizer, deodorizer, um, and improve the cleaning performance. So that was kind of was in my mind at the time. We're back in Penticton, and I'm thinking about my rotary machine. I'm thinking, well, why not just put ozone into the water as I'm cleaning with my rotary machine and put it into the tank as I'm put my solution in there and bubble it in with an aerator, and away I go. And that's where the why I called myself Oxy-Dry, because OXY, ozone is a form of oxygen, and that's where the OXY comes from. So that was why I called myself Oxy-Dry, and that was part of my marketing, was that I'm using ozone to boost the cleaning power, and it kills bacteria, germs, and viruses, and it's a natural deodorizer, and on it goes. So that's what I did, and that was 95 is when I started actually, and I put together a flyer, and I delivered many, many flyers by hand, obviously, and I advertised $15 a room, and the phone calls started coming in. And the first month in business, I did $2,000. My second month, I did 4,000, and the next month, I did 6,000. Next month, I did 8,000, and it went on like that for the first year. And What about the time that I started really getting busy, the calls got less and less at the care facility, and I think it was in this July, August, September, October. Yeah, I guess it was that first winter that, and I met my wife not long after I started. We got married a year later or so. Um, and I remember that first Christmas that we were together. I actually had to work. I believe I actually worked Christmas Day um, at the care unit. That is, but that was my last year of doing any work at the care unit. And within a month or two after that, I ended up having to. I quit completely working as a care aide and just continued to focus on growing Oxy-Dry. Within a few months, I had to. I sold my little Renault, which made me very sad because I really had an emotional attachment to that car. It was a nice little car. It wasn't. I mean, it was a $200 car, but it didn't look like a $200 car. There was no rust on it, no dents. It looked good. I had actually painted the roof and the hood. A buddy of mine, we did that before I moved back from Penticton with it, and it looked really good. Um, and I ended up having to sell it. I ended up buying a 1987 Astrovan. A buddy of mine helped me out with that by holding the. I made all the payments and everything, and I paid it off real fast. But he held the papers for me because he kind of did the liaison. Is that the right word? Between myself and the guy that that I bought it from, and who was a friend of his. And anyway, the rest, I guess you could say, is history. I used that Clark 13-inch machine for at least a year as my main cleaner. Um, Eventually, I found another. Like I found a 15-inch machine, and then eventually I got a 17-inch machine. Um, quite a few years later, when was it? 2010, 2009, I think, was when I got my first OP machine, which was the Orbitech, which I still have. Um, a year or two later, I bought the Orbot, which I still have. Um, and so I've used every method pretty much there is. Um, and I prefer, for lots of reasons, to use rotary for residential carpeting. And I've had videos where I've explained that, so I'm not going to go into that right now. No point in doing that. But whichever method you choose to use, um, my my you can do it, and you can do it by just doing the best you can at what you do. Whether you use a rotary, you use an OP, um, use CRB. Um, my background with the CRB was with the hose system, which is like a powder. It's not dry; it's actually damp, and you can spray the carpet lightly with your pre-spray, and then sprinkle usually use the trigger sprayer, and sprinkle it with the powder, which is ground up corn husk, and you work it in, and then vacuum it out. And so we did that for years. Um, I've done it all, but in my opinion, from my experience, because of all the things that I've done in my life with carpet cleaning, the simplest and easiest way to do residential carpet cleaning is with a rotary machine, tank on the machine, a shower feed. Just keep it simple. Fiber pad followed by fiber pad or brush, followed by either an Ironman cotton or microfiber. Um, Simple, easy peasy. We're in our 25th year. We're doing numbers that are unprecedented, quite frankly. Um, and I've just proven that it's possible to do this without spending a lot of money and without being complicated. So this is almost an hour long. So if you're interested in getting into carpet cleaning and um, it's a good business, and my videos are here to help anybody who doesn't have the background that I have. I wanted to just share what my background is, so I'm not just speaking theoretically. I've been there, done that, and I paid my dues. I think you could say. So anyway, I guess I'll continue on, and I'm gonna go into a store over here, and I need to pick something up, I think. So anyway, I hope that was an interesting story, and can't think of anything else intelligent to say, so I guess I better sign off. So have a good day.